what is healing and how does healing take place? And how I've come to look at it as this.
Yeah.
If we accept, as most scientists do, that such a thing as evolution exists, then at one time there was no life on this planet. Then at some particular point in time, some group of chemicals decided to wrap a membrane around themselves and become that first living cell. And upon doing that, in order for it to exist, it had to be able to respire, it had to be able to take energy in, it had to let waste products out, it had to be able to reproduce, and so forth. But especially, if that cell membrane was injured, it had to be able to close it. In other words, the very essence of what life is healing. That cell could only continue to exist because somehow, somewhere, the concept of wholeness existed, and all the elements of the cell, in order to live, that cell had to be able to heal. In time, when we developed multicellular animals, we had a new concept of wholeness, because now the mouth couldn't just decide, I don't feel like eating anymore, because then the whole organism would die. So that sense of wholeness needed to be there, and it needed to be maintained in order for the animal to live. If a predator comes, it runs away in order to maintain its wholeness. If it sees food, even though it has to climb a difficult tree to get to that food, it does so to maintain wholeness of that individual. That's healing. All of those things are healing, because healing is about maintaining the wholeness of the individual. So healing is something that happens on a continuum. For an individual person, this process of self-healing has to do with discovering who you are, where you are on that continuum, and finding the aspects of yourself that want to move in that direction. That healing is an intentional process, it's a voluntary process. It also has to do with gaining access to that wisdom that knows how to move you toward becoming the person that you really want to be, which is actually the person you already are down deep inside. So healing is not just recovering from being sick, but it's also evolving into what you have the potential of being. I often talk about that. The thing that really fascinated me when I was a very young child was that inside of an acorn is an oak tree. Not a rose bush, not a pine tree, not a hummingbird. But you open it up, you don't see it. But it's in there. How is it in there? It's in there as a potential. And according to my way of looking at things, an acorn becomes an oak tree. That's part of a healing process as well. Just as much as when a branch breaks off the oak tree, that it seals up the hole so it doesn't lose its sap. They're both different forms of healing. So it's moving to your potential. So although sometimes we think of healing as being a matter of survival, healing is also a matter of thrival. Thriving is what it's about.